Welcome back. From the Taj Hotel in Mumbai today, where the 26/11 attack took place, the External Affairs Minister showed the UNSC, that's the United Nations Security Council, the mirror. All guns blazing, he said that the planners of the 26/11 Mumbai attack remain unpunished because they continue to be protected by politics in the body. He said that the Security Council has, quote unquote, regrettably been unable to act in some cases when it comes to proscribing terrorists because of political considerations. A direct attack at not just the UNSC, but even at China. He was speaking at the UNSC meet, which is an anti-terror meet which is currently underway in Mumbai.
The key conspirators and planners of the 26/11 attacks continue to remain protected and unpunished. When it comes to proscribing some of these terrorists, the Security Council has regrettably been unable to act in some cases because of political considerations. This undermines our collective credibility and our collective interests. A key aspect of combating terrorism is to effectively curb terror financing.
Let me go across to our guests who are joining us this evening. Maroof Raza is the Group Consulting Editor for the Times Network. He's with us on the broadcast. Maroof, always good to get your wisdom on the show. We also will have Andrew Leung, who's a China strategist, who will be joining us on the show. And Suresh Kumar Goel is a former ambassador who is joining us on the broadcast. Maroof Raza, help me put the External Affairs Minister's statement today in Mumbai in context. It is a hard-hitting statement, but will it hit target is the question.
Well, 3 points. Point one, yes, his statement can be inferred very clearly in India and other places that it's pointing fingers at China. But China would obviously use the ambiguity that the statement still has to say that did he name us? No. So why are we being asked if we are protecting those who are protecting the planners of 26/11? Clearly, the planning, execution, everything of 26/11, by the admission of a number of people, kasab apart, has taken place in Pakistan. There is enough documented evidence on that, including the comments of the then DGISI, who said, "Bande hamare the, operation hamara nahi tha," which means they were our boys. Second, by continuing to go around in circles and to say that the UN Security Council should take more responsibility, quite clearly, the UN is a toothless body. It has been shown to be even more ineffective in the recent Russia-Ukraine conflict, where any amount of effort to try and get a resolution against Russia is getting nowhere, simply because Russia, like other members of the Security Council like China, has the blanket cover of blocking everything that is to be said against it. India, and particularly Nehru, made a mistake by rebuffing the offer for India to join the Security Council after we became independent. And we continue to be in the league of countries like Mauritius and Fiji Island as a General Assembly member, notwithstanding the odd election we win to become temporarily part of Security Council. And thirdly, let's not rule out that America is also giving Pakistan a quid pro quo cover for all their activities, because Pakistan allowed America to exit half honorably, if not dishonorably, from Afghanistan. And for that, they've given them recently al-Zawahiri, and America has ensured that the FATF financial sanctions body removes Pakistan from the grey list and puts them back into the list like so many other honorable countries who do nothing to support or finance terror. But while Pakistan does it, Pakistan extracts its pound of flesh because it knows how to play the strategic game. And we can keep standing at podiums and cursing China, Pakistan, and the UN. But quite frankly, we have to adopt other ways. You don't keep reinforcing a failure and hope like hell the world will take you seriously. Back to you.
Do stay on with us. I believe that Andrew Leung is joining us as well. He's a China strategist. Andrew, thank you very much for your time here on Mirror Now. Help me understand this double speak and this double standard as far as terrorism is concerned when it comes to China. India wants, India wants terrorists who were involved in the planning of a deadly terror attack on its soil proscribed. What's the harm in that? Why block everything India wants to do? These are double standards. The world sees them.
Well, I mean, let's face it, the United Nations are full of double standards. And it's not just one country. I mean, you can mention other big countries like the United States. Because what one country is regarded as terrorist, another country can regard as a patriot. I mean, let's not forget that there are many acts can be regarded as terrorism by one country, but regarded by another country is fully justified. Well, for example, the recent blowing up of certain pipelines in connecting Europe. I mean, even Sweden has found out who is doing it, but is unable to reveal who is responsible. But it goes without saying that it could be regarded as an act of terrorism. Likewise, the United States sent a drone to kill someone in Iran, for example. I mean, that can be regarded as terrorism. So I think that what the United Nations should do is to really ban certain actions, but rather than individuals, because individuals are always difficult, because you come up with politics, you come up with national kind of strategies, one country against another. But there are certain acts which cannot be condoned internationally, like involving innocent civilians, like involving children, like involving destruction of properties open to the public. So these kind of actions that can be all agreed on, but to zero in on certain individuals is problematic in international politics, I'm afraid.
No, but these individuals are individuals like Hafiz Saeed Jr., the Lashkar chief Sajid Mir, Shahid Mohammed. These are terrorists. These are people who are involved in the killing of women and children and civilians. These are terrorists. These are not patriots for any country. Mr. Goel, just come in here. We know that China is not going to make it easy for us. They've not made it easy for us in Eastern Ladakh. They're certainly not going to make it easy for us to fight terrorism on our soil. This is our war. We need to fight it. I want to understand what is the hesitation in even naming China. Today, the External Affairs Minister has made a strong statement, but he's refrained from naming China. Why?
Thank you very much, Shreya. Like Maroof Raza, I'm going to speak in points. Point number one, Mr. Andrew Leung, whom I have known for a long time now, since my days in China a long time ago, refers to patriots versus terrorists. Was Bin Laden a terrorist? When he bombed the World Towers in the USA, why doesn't he call them a patriot? I'm sure that Andrew Leung, in fact, has referred to act in New York as a terrorist activity simply because USA is militarily a powerful country. Therefore, the choice here is not terrorist. The choice here really is who can do what harm. And that is what he's looking at. Patriotism versus terrorism. This debate has gone on for far too long. In 1991, when I joined the United Nations, I was working there on the resolution on terrorism, International Comprehensive Convention. The debate took place. It was clearly understood that without the need to define terrorism, any activity which involves wanton killing of civilians for achieving political, non-political aims is an act of terrorism. Simple as that. Therefore, what happened in Mumbai on 26/11 is an act of terrorism, and there is no question about it. Number two, naming China. The point really is that a veteran diplomat will always choose the words carefully. I don't think there is any need to name a country till the implication is very clear. It can happen. We have said often again, and Mr. Jaishankar has said it again, that in China is a question of trust, of deficit of trust. The understanding that we had before Ladakh episode. We had an understanding, we trusted China. There is no more trust involved in this. Therefore, if China said something earlier, we were prepared to understand it. Now, that understanding is not there anymore. And I think what he said is very clear. There is no need to name or not to name anything at all till even a person who does not know international affairs will understand that he means China. That's all I would like to say here. And the fact here is that China is completely forgetting that it could become an attack target of terrorism itself, unless it actually is prepared to take action on terrorism now. Shreya, back to you.
Well, they have chosen their friends. They have chosen their friends, and that friend is Pakistan. So you never know how it pans out. Maroof Raza, just come in here. Mr. Goel is saying the implication is enough. He didn't, a diplomat will choose his words carefully. Mr. Jaishankar really didn't need to name China, because even a kid who doesn't understand politics will understand who the reference was to.
No, I respectfully disagree with Mr. Goel, who I'm very fond of otherwise. But the fact of the matter is that I think the world has moved on. Ever since terrorism has come into the global vocabulary, the whole concept of diplomacy has changed. And I disagree with the respected Chinese expert here that, one man's friend is another man's terrorist and vice versa. That's also been turned on its head. It's now very clear, even if we go by definitions that are coming to do the rounds, whether the UN has formally adopted a definition on terrorism or not, that is a subject of debate, but it's very clear that that old line, which has done the rounds from the 60s, that your friend is my enemy and my enemy's enemy is my friend, etc., all that is nonsense. We have to put it aside. You have to talk straight. This is also the time to talk diplomacy up front. You have to roll up your sleeves and dirty your knees and get onto the ground if you really want to do your country some good. It's very well to have the best of wines and wear silk ties and talk inanities. What we need to do is talk straight. If you talk straight, it makes headlines elsewhere. Headlines get countries to sit up and then respond. And the response finally leads to people coming onto the table and saying, what is it that you wish to get out of me? Secondly, India, while being critical of China, particularly after the 2020 experience of Galwan, India's trade with China has continued to grow. So you're calling somebody a disruptor or an enemy or use what polite diplomaties. But let me tell you, if you're trading with some country with the extent that we are, that our trade, I just read, has exceeded $100 billion again with China, of which 75% or so is dedicated to China's pockets and not ours. I cannot understand how we have decided to take them on other than deploying troops on the borders. We have enough troops. China knows it can't push its way past us in muscle, but it's buying out all other interests in India. And therefore, China has advantage as trade, as exporter, and whatever else. We haven't yet got our act together on how to deal with China. And I completely disagree with the position of the External Affairs Minister and South Bloc that dialogue will resolve everything. We've had multiple rounds of dialogue with China, 22 special representative talks with China, and we are still doing Kadam Tal. We are at the same place, marking time. We are not moving forward because China is got its interests very clearly sorted out. I don't think we really know what we want from China. Back to you.
My last question to you before I let our guests go. Mr. Goel, just come in here. Maroof makes some very strong points, but the other point that I did want to speak about was UNSC reforms. Long pending. A, do you see them happening? Do you see India get a position at the high table, become one of the permanent members? And if it doesn't, I mean, what's the point of, making these making these comments at all if you know it's a toothless body and it has been shown up to be one in the recent conflict between Russia and Ukraine? Why do we even bother then? A, they don't want to give us a seat in the high table. B, every time we want to proscribe a terrorist, China will block it because it's a permanent member, has veto powers, etc. Why do we even bother with the United Nations Security Council unless there's a reform?
A good question, Shreya. Let me put it this way. I don't see the UNSC reforms happening next year or 2 years or even in the next 5 years. Unless the dynamics of the superpowers change, unless the world dynamics change, no country is ever going to give up the kind of privilege the Security Council permanent membership gives, or even to share it with other countries. Therefore, I think even if 4 countries have agreed that India should become a permanent member, China would never, ever agree, not just because we are not exactly friends, but because China is a neighboring country and a powerful neighbor will always be a threat, number one. Number two, we continue to basically engage with the UN Security Council because at the moment there is no other substitute. United Nations is the only body in the world which technically, legally, every which way is a custodian of the international law. It may not work, but whenever there is a violation of international law, that's the only body to which a country can go. Lastly, membership of the Security Council, even temporary, as you would have seen by now, does give a certain prestige and certain leverage to the members. I will only give one example. Please see how China has benefited both politically, strategically, and even economically after it became the permanent member of the Security Council. Shreya.
We leave it there for the moment. This has been an interesting chat. Maroof Raza, thank you very much. Andrew Leung, thank you for joining us. And Suresh Kumar Goel, former ambassador, joining us on the broadcast as well. With that, it's a wrap from me. News and updates continue right here. Do stay with us on Mirror Now.